Welcome back to another episode of Mindset Mastery with Mindset Mary. Today, I am thrilled to host a figure who stands tall in the world of coaching. He is a former basketball championship coach turned business coach and author of 18 books, an incredibly talented speaker who has performed at some of the largest stages, including 10X. And he's a firm believer that everybody needs a good coach in life. Today, he is the #1 leading authority on the activating the prey drive in people. I am excited to dive into today's conversation. Coach Michael Burt, thank you for joining me today and welcome to the show.
Hello. And I like that part about being tall. I've never been that tall in my life. So that's a great introduction. Thank you.
Coach Burt, in the virtual world of coaching and Zoom, we can be as tall as we want.
That's right. Amen. I love it.
That's awesome. So Coach, tell me, how did your journey from being the youngest head coach in Tennessee to becoming a top business and peak performance coach come to fruition? Can you share a little bit about the sports coaching journey that you had and the experiences that you acquired that have uniquely positioned you in the world of business coaching?
I fell in love with coaching at 15 years old when I started coaching junior pro basketball. And I knew at that moment that was what I was supposed to be doing. And so that turned into elementary coaching, turned into me being the youngest head coach in the state of Tennessee. And I was really fascinated by inner engineering, or what I call building competitive intelligence in the players. So I was going over to the business world, studying business, bringing it back to my players. And that was unique. This was 1999. People were not doing this. And so nobody really knew what I was doing, Mary. They just knew that my teams had a lot of chemistry, a lot of discipline, a lot of focus, and we were really winning. And they could just tell that our team had it together. So they were constantly asking me, what are you doing with the kids? And that prompted me to write my first book when I was 25 years old, called Changing Lives Through Coaching, because I believe a good coach can change your life. And from that, kind of unintentionally, businesses started to call me and say, will you come speak to our people? Will you motivate our team? And I would go speak for an hour and they would say, that was really good. Will you come back? And I'm like, no, I can't come back. I'm a high school basketball coach. I'm trying to win championships. I'm not interested. And I really wasn't interested. I only wanted to win a championship at that time. And then they started saying, well, come back one time or come back once a quarter. And that led to them asking me to coach. And ultimately, they began compensating me at a higher level. And so at 31, I retired from athletic coaching after I had won a championship. It kind of built this dynasty. And then I retired to become a business coach.
Wow. So it was, it's nice that you actually accomplished what you set out. Like, you had a goal, you want to win a championship, you worked hard, you built a team, a successful team, and you won the championship. That's amazing. And having that win, how did you feel after you had that win?
It's hard to describe the euphoria you feel when you work for something for 10 years. Mm. And it's something you'll never forget. It's a memory you will have. As I get older, I'm 47 now, and I heard Dana White say this with the UFC. They asked him his feelings about money, and he said, I use money to create memories. And that's the only reason I use money. And I thought, I've never thought about that. But as I get older, what really important is the memory of something and the experience of something. And that experience of being the best kind of planted a seed in my mind that it is worth it. It is worth the effort. It is worth the time. It is worth the energy to accomplish something that big and to be really, at the end of the day, to really be the best. Mm-hmm. It's all worth it.
Oh, absolutely. Especially if you're going in it with all your heart, right? And you've got the right intentions and you set things in motion. And as long as you continue down that path that you actually believe in. And that kind of takes me to okay, in your coaching now in the business world, do you see people having that North Star, like knowing what they're doing and why they're doing it and going after it? Is there a North Star for most people, or are most people really in search of that North Star?
Well, this is precisely why I wrote the new book, From A to B, because and the subtitle of that book is called A Simple Structure to Help You Get Total Clarity of Where You Are and Where You're Trying to Go. It's simple. It's so simple, but so powerful. So I say, what is your B? B could be tangible. That means it's a tangible outcome. I want my company to do 10 million in revenue. I want a 41% profit margin. I want to work 3 days a week. I want to do this. Or it could be intangible. I want to be happier. I want to experience joy in the journey. I want to remove anxiety. See, I say people move toward the B, which is their ultimate goal, because they think it'll make them happy. Number one, they believe it'll make them happy if they reach it, or they think it'll alleviate some anxiety, or it's just a worthy goal that they want to pursue, right? So when I wrote that book, I built a whole program around it called What's Next. I found out that most people live in confusion.
Yeah.
They have a randomness in motion. And so they're confused about where they're going, why they're going there, what the purpose of going there is. And they literally get caught up in just a vicious cycle of pursuing, and they're not real clear on what they're doing or why they're trying to get there.
Right. Yeah, I would agree. I think in my coaching experience, I think there is a lot of confusion in what it is that they actually want. I think what there is no confusion about is the fact that they're not where they want to be. They're not happy. They're not experiencing the emotions that they want to be experiencing, or they don't have the numbers in their bank account that they'd like to see, to feel comfortable. So tell me then, Coach Burt, in A to B, how do you help people get more clarity over where they are right now and where they want to be going? So clarity over A, but also clarity over B.
Yeah, great question. I do a lot of work with Dave Blanchard, and Dave Blanchard owns the rights to Augmandino's work. And he probably said the best definition of self-development or self-improvement that I've ever heard. He said self-improvement really starts with awareness. Mm-hmm. Typically of a destructive thought or a destructive habit of thought. And until you have an awareness of where you are, a literal awareness of where you are, and an awareness of your thoughts and your thinking, you cannot change those habits of thought. Yeah. Okay. So if I have a destructive thought that sabotages my thinking of where I'm trying to get to, until I have an awareness of it, and then until I change the habit, does it really change the brain and the neural pathways in the brain? And it really is self-improvement. So A is really an awareness of where you are. Now, I like to say that most of us are bothered by something about where we are, right? We don't like something. So I say, tell me you're at A and you're trying to get to B. This is the exercise I use with almost every prospect I talk to. Okay. Tell me what bothers you about being an A. And they'll say, well, I don't like this. Well, my company is not really self-managing. Well, I spend too much time away from my family. I'm burned out and exhausted. I said, okay, tell me what B looks like to you. And I say, well, I'm refreshed and rejuvenated. I've got a company that's hitting its sales numbers. I do mainly the 3 things I love doing. I'm generating this much income. I say, okay, that's B. Now, what moves us toward B is really moving from mental creation to action. And it's typically, who can help me do this? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I always said what stops us from getting there is knowledge. We don't know how to get there, which is where most people live. Skilled. We're not skilled enough to get there. Yeah. Desire, prey drive, instinct to pursue. We don't have enough drive to get there. We don't have the confidence to get there, or we don't have the relationships to get there. So we literally live between, I'm frustrated, but I don't know how to get there. Mm-hmm. So I just stay where I'm at and I complain about it. Mm-hmm. So we live mental creation and we fantasize and catastrophize. We can see it vivid in our mind, but we live in a world of frustration because we just can't figure out how to get there.
I would agree. Yes. I think most of us, I mean, even the most successful people they do struggle with thoughts, right? Thoughts that aren't serving us. They're not serving our story. They're thoughts that, keep us stuck or keep us small or create more confusion, because the more we associate ourselves with those thoughts, the more we think that we're not good enough or we can't do it. We can't achieve it. We question our worthiness, and you're absolutely right. It's if without self-awareness, there's no step 2. Like you can bypass step 1 and get to step 2 ever. You have to build that awareness. One thing that I've found with clients is that they don't have the right systems in place to keep their minds healthy. So journaling, journaling through writing because once you write something down that's in your mind, it almost loses its power over you. It takes on a different energy once you write it down and you really start to look at it. The other thing I notice is that the more we ruminate in our heads, the less we're likely to actually take action and move in the direction that we want to go. So journaling is one way that I've helped clients, or I've helped clients help themselves to kind of get out of their head, And the other thing is like positive affirmations. We are so easily influenced by the negative things that are happening around us that translate to the negative things we start to think about and become associated with. So it's like being able to say, I am worthy, I am powerful, I do have a compelling future. Saying the things that your mind will never say on its own unless you intentionally say them to yourself, right? And I like to think about, relationships, because I think we get so stuck in the how do I get this done? How do I get there? And you're looking at others and the success of others and continuously playing that comparison game without really thinking about like, well, if they've done it, it actually means it can be done. And I can do it as well. So who can help me? Who's done it? And who's done it and how can they help me do it as well? So I think like it's us being able, like as a mindset coach, it's like, how do you develop a relationship with your mind where it's actually your friend?
Yeah, that's good.
It's actually your friend. And the nice thing is, the thing is that all problems are created within us, but then all solutions are found within us as well. So if we're creating the problem, we also have the solution, which is why I enjoy, which is why I like your work. Like when I first got introduced to your work, it was over Instagram. You got all these amazing reels and you had like the it factor. Like you were saying, it was like not just what you were saying, but it was how you were saying it. And it was your ability to really touch someone in how the words are landing. So I'd sort of like to explore that a little bit.
Yeah.
How did you cultivate that as a coach? Because not every coach has that.
It's hard. As I was listening to you, the reels are impactful because it's capturing me coaching people in the moment.
Yeah.
And the only way to really answer that question is I have been coaching since I was 15 years old, right? That's for 32 years now. It's all I've ever done. And I call that a long obedience in the same direction. So it's kind of a combination of my sport background, which is very intense. Right? There's a game to play. There's a trophy to win. There's movement, plus the covey in me, which is more methodical. So I think that the coach that you see on Instagram is a mixture of this intensity, this entrepreneurial spirit, but I have this deep covey background of who I studied under from 18 to 25, which is deep and methodical. It's very, pragmatic. It's very step by step. And I just think that's why I say I'm intense and I'm positive. And some people like that. And I spoke yesterday to a group of people and I could tell that some people, more of the coach in me came out yesterday, Mary, because they weren't responding the way people typically do. And my tendency is to like, I'm in a locker room, like I'm going to keep pushing until I either push you to a point or you're like, I'm out. Okay. So yesterday I pushed harder than I typically do because I didn't think I was connected with the audience. And the default in me is to shift gears and find another gear, just like I did with my team. So I think when you see those reels, that's really what you're seeing is 31 years of me doing it. And I do have an instinct to know when I need to shift gears in a presentation and when I need to tell a story, when I need to insert humor, when I need to get more cerebral, when I need to, and it's hard to teach other people that, but it is instinctual.
I would agree. And, in talking about instinct, let's go to prey drive because you are the leading authority on activating that prey drive in people. So can you tell me a little bit about what is prey drive, what activates prey drive, and how do we keep prey drive activated?
Well, prey drive is the easiest way to explain it is instinct. It's instinct to pursue. Okay. And prey drive is prevalent in animals, specifically in dogs. They have a prey drive, which is their instinct to stalk, capture, and kill prey. I associated the word with humans, gave it a new definition, an instinctual ability to see something with the eyes or in the mind, in the imagination, and to have the persistence and intensity to pursue it. but the prey drive has to be activated. And in most people, that drive has been deactivated. Okay, either life has knocked them down, or they've been told to slow down. You know, for whatever reason, it's never been activated in a lot of people. It's dormant. Covey used to talk about how people's gifts and talents were dormant or latent or undeveloped. Okay, it's like it's inside of them. They were given it to them at birth, but they've never opened their birthday gifts. Well, prey drive is, I have an instinct to pursue something that I see, I want, a goal, a dream, an ambition, a partnership, an opportunity. But there must be a persistence to this drive, and there must be an intensity to this drive. So the way I wrote this book is I studied the top 20 motivational theories. I deconstructed those theories. They basically all say the same thing. We move toward things we want. When we're hungry, we move toward food. When we're lonely, we move toward people. When we're thirsty, we move toward water. The problem becomes, what happens when we don't want anything? And we become complacent, which is a big problem in America. It's kind of a complacent nation. We have a lot of entitlement. We have a lot of, I'm going to sit and wait on things to happen. They don't pursue. So when I wrote this book, I said, okay, what is this drive? It's an instinct to pursue. What are the phases of it? Activation, persistence, intensity. What are the activators of it? Like, what activates Mary's prey drive? What activates right? Because all these people were coming to me saying, you know, I got a good team, but they don't really pursue like they should. They don't really follow up like they should. Mostly a lot of salespeople. Yeah. They don't really work like they should. It's like, what can we do? And I started saying, so we should spend our time activating that drive. So it is activated by fear. Fear can be used as a prey drive activator. Fear of loss, specifically fear of loss. But even fear of rejection can activate the prey drive. Fear can be your friend. Just like you said, your mind can be your friend. Fear can be a friend. So that is an activator. Competition could be an activator for some people, okay, that want to be great or want to compete, or they've got a competitive spirit. Environment can be an activator of prey drive, meaning when I'm in an environment, this is why I'm building a greatness factory in Nashville. It's a great place to work. It's a great place to learn. It's a great place to connect. I mean, it's a cool place to go work at because your prey drive is activated there, right? Then exposure is an activator. I see something. I grew up not going to a lot of cities, not being in big cities because we lived in a small town. So when I started going to Miami and New York City and Chicago, I was like, whoa, like this, look at all this opportunity. It activated my prey drive. It's like, this is a big world. That's why I like, that's why, when I'm in big cities, I like the energy of the city because it activates my prey drive. It's like things are happening, people are moving. And then ultimately, embarrassment can be an activator of prey drive. Like embarrassment can be an activator. Yes.
Yeah.
So the fear of embarrassment can be an activator, which causes you to prepare.
Yes. Very true. Very true. So then in your coaching experience of 3 decades, do you see people more motivated by the positive activators or by the negative activators?
Yeah, that's a great question. You're the only person who's ever asked me that question.
Really?
So great question. And my publisher, when I wrote this book through McGraw, I could tell that my editor was not a sports person, right? She was not a sports person. So she came to me and would ask me these questions like, does it have to be negative? Like, is it only negative things that activate the prey drive? The truth is, a positive compliment could activate the prey drive. Affirmation could activate the prey drive. Recognition could activate the prey drive, right? Yeah. Like it's not that something negative has to happen to activate the prey drive. I'm more of what's called a defensive pessimist than a strategic optimist. A defensive pessimist is a person that thinks about all the things that could go wrong, right? Yeah. And they prepare a lot. So I'm more of a defensive pessimist. So I am more motivated by fear of loss, competition, embarrassment. That's just my particular psyche. So that probably is a little bit of a bias that comes out when I talk about prey drive. But I actually believe that positive compliments or recognition could really activate it as well.
And I think it also depends really on the person, right?
Yes.
And their outlook and view of life and view of themselves, and what really motivates them. So are you motivated to work hard to buy a $10 million mansion, or are you motivated because you got to put food on the table and you got kids? And if you don't get today or tomorrow's sale, you're not making rent. It really depends on where people are at in life. Now,
Yeah.
I would also say that maybe someone who is comfortable, who is complacent, I guess perhaps I'm wondering actually, like, what would activate that person's prey drive? Because they've already got the job, they've got the money, they're comfortable, they're not hurting for cash. What activates people who, because as they say, or as I love Ed Milet, and he always says, the enemy of great is good. So when things are good, how do you get those people to get great?
It's typically stimulated. As you were saying that, I remember I was speaking in Nashville. There were two gentlemen in the room making about $300,000 a month in personal income,
Wow.
most money they've ever made.
Yeah.
And they just really looked at me, and I was pushing really hard that day.
Yeah.
I finished the presentation, and they ran out in the hallway and said, "You're my new coach. I have lost my prey drive." So let's go back to something we said earlier, awareness. See, me giving a presentation brought an awareness to them. Man, I've lost my drive. I'm complacent. It's all relative, by the way. It's not relative to the $3.6 million they were making. It's relative to the potential they think they have. Because in their mind, they probably think they're playing small. They may have thought they were playing big. I was speaking in Mexico. I'm going to Mexico tomorrow to speak. And it was an insurance event, Mary, and they brought these people down as a reward banquet. They've done well. They're getting rewarded. Part of it is they got to go hear me talk, right? And they brought me in to speak. And one guy just sat there like this the whole time and looked at me. And he got finished. I got finished, and he said, I came here excited. Now I'm all pissed off. And I'm like, why? He said, well, I thought I was doing good. I'm making $250,000 a year. So the talk brought an awareness to him. I can play at a higher level. So that answers your question of, if I'm complacent, it's typically exposure to something. There's times in my life I think I'm playing at a high level, Mary, and then it's like, I remember when I got a jet in 2017 to travel, and the very first plane ride I got on, 7-passenger, beautiful little jet, and then the first thing I see is like a G450 beside me. And it pulled up beside me on the runway, and I was like,
Yeah.
look at that. Now, it wasn't a comparison thing, but it was an awareness that, hey, there are levels to this, and it's okay. You can be content, by the way, for all the people who watch this. You can be content and go, you know what? I'm grateful for where I am, but I do have a desire to play at a higher level or impact more people.
Yes. Yeah. That's the one thing that we don't want to fall into, is that, always striving for more, always wanting more, never appreciating the moment, and always thinking that next moment or that next acquisition is going to get me what it is that I want.
I would say that is something I've struggled with over the years. Personally, I have moments of happiness, Mary, moments where I go, you know what, this is good. Yeah. Right. I've worked hard, this is a good moment, but it's fleeting. Because of the way I think. It's like, all right, look, man, it's me versus Milet, or me versus Cardone, or me versus, right? It's like, hey, yeah, so it's, but a lot of that's of the psyche and makeup of the person as well. I am happiest, Mary, when I am pursuing. I am happiness when I am setting a goal. I am miserable. See, I'm going to Mexico tomorrow to speak for 3 or 4 days. I couldn't sit on the beach in Mexico for days and do nothing. Like I can for a day, but I get re-inspired, and I'm like, all right, I got a new book to write. I need to get going. I'm just, I went to St. Lucia once in the bungalows over the water, and after about 3 days, I was trying to figure out how to buy the bungalows. I was like, now, will you guys sell me one of these bungalows? Like, how much would it cost? And they were like, well, we make $20 million a year with this bungalow. And I'm like, okay. Like, it was like I needed something to do. That's just who I am, That's just who I am.
So good. And I think that's common of many high achievers who have high expectations, who have set high goals, and and love the pursuit. I think like Coach Burt, I think that's a gift, right?
Yeah.
The fact that you love the pursuit, not just the destination, not just getting that thing, but the pursuit of getting it, or the
That's right.
pursuit of becoming it.
Yep.
Right. So, I mean, I heard you say something that I absolutely love. And I keep telling that to myself. And when you always say, it all goes zero to at midnight.
Right.
We go to bed tired and wake up hungry. I love that, because for me, in terms of mindset, that's like whatever you've done today is awesome, but you don't get to carry that into your next day. The next day you're doing more. You're trying, you're starting from scratch and you're working your way back up to midnight. So tell me a little bit about how you came about with that saying, because I think it's super impactful.
It actually started in a kind of a negative thing. I was in Miami at Grant Cardone's offices, and I was telling him, man, I'm growing this coaching business. I got 700 people in this program, and by nature, he can be a negative person by his nature. And he would tell you that. A lot of people think he's positive, but his nature is negative. And he said, what you have is a very expensive babysitting service. And I went, what? Like, I'm excited. I'm growing my coaching business. And then he said to me, this terrible business model. So coaching is a terrible business model. He said, they love you today. They'll love Tony Robbins tomorrow. They'll love me the next day. They'll love Chuck one day. He said, it's a terrible business model because it all goes to zero at midnight.
Okay.
And I thought, God, then what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this if it all goes to zero at midnight? And I called Tim Grover, who's one of my good friends, and I was all, shooken up. And I was like, man, Cardone said it all goes to zero at midnight. What am I doing? Why have I spent my life coaching people if it all goes to zero at midnight? And Grover's like, no. He said, I understand why he said that, but the people you help, the people that you inspire, the people you don't even know you're inspiring, it doesn't go to zero at midnight. But so it kind of give me a different perspective on it. But I started saying, in the business world, if you can reactivate the prey drive every day by telling yourself it all goes to zero at midnight. See, I wear a bracelet that says we go to bed tired and we wake up hungry. And it's a reminder that today doesn't care about yesterday. Like, yesterday is finite. It's fixed. It's the past. It can be a tough business model. It can be an emotionally taxing business model. It is true that people love you one day and they love somebody else the next day. It is true that you pour into people's lives and sometimes they don't appreciate it or tell you they appreciate it. It is true you hear a lot of negative. It is true there's a lot of churn, and especially as you get bigger and bigger, right? Just take those reels that you see. My reels have been seen now over the last 30 days by 2.1 million people. On Facebook, it's grown 6 million people, and just the pure negativity of some of the people over a 1 minute clip can really make you go negative. It's like, hey man, it's 1 minute. You're capturing 1 minute out of a 1 hour talk and making an assessment about a person. I don't do that because I kind of practice non-judgment. But my point is, it can really get you into a negative place. And you can start saying, why do I do this, right? Why am I coaching all these people? Is there not a better way to do this? And it gets you thinking about your business model as a coach.
Yeah. And Coach Burt, I think a lot of people struggle with the negative comments on social media. And I think it's like, why do I do this? It's like, because those people still exist, because those people are still out there and they need a coach in their life, right? They need a compelling future. They need someone to show them that there is a better way. And I think it's those people that are actually stuck in those negative emotions, right? And having those limiting beliefs. I'll just wait till you come back.
Yep, I can hear you go.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay.
Yep.
So then it's just the screen freezing on my end. And it's like, actually it's because there's more people out there that actually need coaches, right?
Yep.
And that's why we do the work that we do, because it's meaningful, it's impactful. And it could be triggering for people. If you're not ready to receive the message, you're going to block that message. And it could be in the form of a hateful comment or whatever it may be. But I think also coaches are so many coaches are so well-intentioned that we know we shouldn't take it personal, but it's hard not to, right?
Yeah. Well, it's hard not to when you devote your whole life to helping other people at the expense many times of your own family, or
Yes.
the sacrifices you make, or I don't think people really understand when you coach a lot of people, or as many people as we do. I mean, they message you till 10:30 at night, at 6 in the morning, at we've had to change my phone number. We've had to, there's a lot of things we've had to do because just the sheer volume of people reaching out per day. And it's not a bad thing. It's a blessing, but it is also can be a burden, almost like a pastor of a church
Yeah.
that's never off, that never has a break, that never gets time away from people. So I think there's obviously pros and cons to every business model.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree. And, let's go there maybe, if you don't mind, more into your personal world. I know
Sure.
you have a beautiful, beautiful wife. You got
Yeah.
three incredible kids,
Yeah.
and you're a busy, busy guy, busy
Yeah.
guy. So I guess I'm curious because I personally I'm a single mom. I've got four kids. I'm running, two businesses. I'm running one business, and I'm also still working full time. So I've got lots on the go as well. And I guess I'm just curious because I'd love to learn from you. And how do you kind of keep just juggling all those balls in the air, keep it all afloat while taking care of, your business, taking care of your family, and taking care of you?
Well, it's really a way of life. It's more a way of life. I do use certain time systems. I rest, I practice, I perform, right? I have a time system that I use. I'm off, I practice, I perform.
Okay.
I see my kids every morning, especially when I'm in town. And then in the evening, I really make an effort to see them. And then I do take one day off per week. And then my wife handles a lot of the hospitality of our business. She handles the design of our real estate properties.
Oh,
So, but she's got her own dreams, her own hopes, her own goals. She's in her own coaching. And the way we do that is we have help, right? We have a nanny, we have a kind of a family assistant, and they typically travel with us just so we can keep everything going. But the time system is very important, and just a commitment.
mhm.
I kind of grew up without my dad there a lot. He's not a bad guy. He was just a young kid. He didn't really know how to be a dad. He didn't have a role model in his life to be a good dad to him, which
Yeah.
I didn't start thinking about till I was in my 40s. I'm like, why was my dad not really that great of a dad? And then I remembered that he's going, instead of being kind of upset with my dad, I started going, let me go a little bit deeper. Why did he not have a good role model? And the truth is he didn't. Never really knew his father. He didn't have a good role model. So when I became a dad, I didn't really know how to be a dad because I'd never seen a good dad
True.
before, right?
Yeah.
And really, to be honest with you, Mary, I'd never seen a good husband. I had never really seen a good husband to my mother. And so because my mom was divorced several times, and she never really had a good husband so I grew up without any of that. And so these are skills I had to learn, like how to be a husband, how to be a good dad. And then I kind of use what's called a because goal. A because goal is a big intrinsic reason you do something when you don't feel like it. And so I started saying, one of my because goals is because my dad wasn't that great of a dad. I made up my mind I was going to be a good dad to my kids. Now, what does that mean? Being present. That means every morning seeing my kids when I'm in town, right? It means when I'm on the road, staying connected to them. It means, putting my kids in bed at night. It means playing with my daughter. So from 6 to 7 every morning when I'm in town, it's just me and the kids and my wife. We have breakfast, we hang out, and there's certain just mechanisms that we got to put in place to live the kind of life that we live, which is travel and helping a lot of people. And sometimes I'll get out in left field and my wife will say, hey, going to see the kids. Okay. I notice you're going to be gone for 7 days and you're going to be on the road and you're being fabulous and you're being Coach Burt. And we call that in our house too busy being fabulous.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Sometimes we can get caught up in all the fabulousness. I think
right.
also, with relationships, I think it's also creating that space for that person to be fabulous,
Yeah.
outside the home, but also
100%.
cultivating that environment where you can also be fabulous inside the home,
Yeah.
as an individual, as a husband, as a dad,
Yeah.
and creating those healthy relationships where you can thrive inside and outside of your
Yes.
home. Yeah.
Yes. And I remember coming home one night and my wife wasn't paying attention to me. And it really bothered me, Mary. I was like, what's up? And then I didn't say anything. And then I didn't say anything. And then right before bed, I said, I need you to pay attention to me, which is the worst time to start this conversation. And I said, look, everywhere I go, people pay attention to me because I'm Coach Burt.
Mm-hmm.
I go speak and I sign books and I take pictures. And then I get home and my own wife doesn't pay attention to me. And she said something that got my attention. She said, we've had to learn to live without you here. And if that bothers you, I'm sorry. Okay. But we've had to make it with you on the road being Coach Burt. So I'm sorry that when you come home, we don't just, and I thought that's a valid point. It hurt, but it's a good point.
It's true. It's true. I mean, it's like life still has to go on in the household when you're not there. And I think that it's also it's like an identity thing. Like you have all this attention and all eyes on you. And, you're a very important person and you're in some very, very big rooms on big stages. And it's like you come home and everything changes. Right. And I think that it's like you come home and then you're back to Michael.
Right. Just a regular old, stop by and get the diapers on the way home. It's just dad.
Yeah.
And, if you read the book, Don't Stop Believing by Jonathan Cain, who wrote the song, Don't Stop Believing, he talks about life on the road, being in journey, being famous, and then coming home. And it's just it's a drop off.
Mm.
And how much friction that created in his marriage and with his kids. And, it's a pretty interesting thing, but it is true. When you're out there on the road being somebody, helping a lot of people, when you come home, there is a drop off and a drop off of energy. Now it's like, hey, you're just dad. So there's an adjustment there that's hard for some people to make.
Yeah, it's true. And it's such a drastic change of roles, from where you're going from stages and huge seminars and talks to like just being in the home environment with kids. And, it's a huge adjustment, and like for them as well as for yourself as well.
Yeah.
So it's I find like, people talk about like work-life balance. And it's like, I don't know, personally, I've never really experienced it. I've never really, I've always felt like when I'm working, but I'm like thinking of all the things that are not happening at home. And then when I'm at home and I'm doing stuff, I'm thinking about how I'm falling behind at work. So it's like, it's really just to kind of get into harmony. And for me, that has been like, okay, I got to get really clear. Like a few years ago, I decided it's not working because I'm not also loving what I'm doing. So why don't I go back and explore what it is that I really want to do in my life and start pursuing that? Because then when you're struggling with the work-life balance or you're trying to find that work-life harmony, at least you're doing it, but you're in a role that you actually love, something you enjoy doing, something that you wake up to, inspired to do. So I think that like, that's really helped. And I think for you, Coach, like you're doing what you love, right? You're in the world of your dreams. So it's, although it's hard to keep all those balls up all the time, it's worth all the effort. Yeah. So then, Coach, tell me, oh, sorry. I can't hear you. Can you hear me, Coach?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Good.
I'm curious, Coach, like what's next for you? Where do you see yourself going?
I see me building products and services. I see me building greatness factories.
Yeah.
And trying to scale greatness factories. I do have a heart to do more things with either the 18 to 25-year-olds with the concept I'm working on, or our success school that we currently have for kids, which is online coaching for kids. So I see me buying more retreat centers around the country and that positive cash flow. And we do, I'm big into retreating to attack and combining inspiration and execution. So I see more greatness factories, more retreat centers, probably more with the kids. And then we have a program called What's Next that's growing like crazy. The high achiever who's trying to figure out what their next move is. So that's what I see in our future.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah. And I love the idea of like, it's inspiration and execution. Sometimes you could be, following people who inspire you, but then you don't do anything, right? It's how do you inspire someone, flip the switch, activate their prey drive, and then get them into motion and continuous motion where that prey drive remains activated. So I think the greatness factories are a great idea because, as you said, environment matters, right? Your proximity to other people, your relationships that you build. And I think that these could be like, incubators for having people come to them and then being able to expand their horizons and meet with people that maybe they wouldn't naturally meet in a normal setting.
That's
so
right.
I think that's a great, the Greatness Factory to me sounded like it's a place that connects people and ideas together to achieve things that you may be unable to achieve working out of your home by yourself.
That's right. See, you get it. That's good. That's a great commercial for the Greatness Factory. So maybe we need to use you to explain the concept, but
you go.
That is exactly the concept. The concept is go to a place where your prey drive is activated and exchange energy, ideas, partnership, right? And it's organic. It's not forced. It's not weird. It's not uncomfortable where you're going to meetings where it's set up to network. It's like, it's an organic exchange,
right.
Where you can secure business and you can secure futures. And there's things that won't happen in your home that would happen at a Greatness Factory.
Correct. And I think that the more we're on our Zooms and doing everything remotely, I think we're losing the connection, right? And as coaches, we coach because we love and value connection. So that's a great place that people can go to really reconnect, and reconnect even with their prey drive, looking at others all around them. People are driven, they're motivated, they've got this huge goal, it's giving them reasons to get up and actually go somewhere in the morning.
Yes. And I think there's going to be a certain group of people that go, I love it. That's exactly where I want to go. We've already rented 60% of the offices in the one we're building in Nashville. We have a beautiful theater where people can do events. We have dream foundries. We have really cool flex spaces. So I believe this could be a really big play for us.
Yeah. And I heard you once say, you want to build 100, but to get to the 100, you need to start with the one.
Start with the one. And there is quantum thinking. Now, the quantum thinking side of me says we don't have to just have one. We can build 10 at a time. And I think with what we're seeing with commercial real estate, there will be people who want to partner with us and put these into unused commercial real estate places, whether it be malls, who would share in the revenue to have a Greatness Factory there. So I'm in talks with certain people around the country on who are interested in having one without maybe the expense that we incurred in Nashville, because it was very expensive to build the mothership there because of how nice it is and just building something from scratch. So, but it's important because that's the home base, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, for sure. I built a custom home, so I know all about the pain of building. Luckily, I love interior design, so it was worth it for me, but I knew like it's a lot, but that is the mothership. It's the first one, and the first one sets the stage for the next 100, right?
That's right.
So
that's right.
Totally worth it. Coach Burt, what an amazing conversation. I knew it was going to be good. I didn't know it was going to be this good. It was amazing. So
thank you.
I am certain that people watching this interview are going to want to know where you live in the virtual world.
Yep.
Where can people go to follow you and find more about you, your programs, your content? Because honestly, it's amazing.
Thank you. If you go to coachburt.com, we just launched a new website that's going to be up probably today. thegreatnessfactory.com explains the Greatness Factory. And obviously we're growing at a rapid rate on social media. Instagram has grown by 50 or 60,000 people in the last 30 to 60 days. Even on Facebook at Coach Michael Burt has grown by 50 or 60,000 people. So we're getting in front of millions of people now. YouTube channel. I have a podcast under America's Coach where we put a lot of my content. So if you're into podcasts, so this is Coach Michael Burt, and you can pretty much find.
Amazing. Okay, Coach, we're definitely I'll link it all up below in the description of the video. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing your wisdom with my community. And I hope to even have you back. I appreciate you, Coach.
Absolutely. You're a real delight. You got a great spirit. Thank you.
Bless you.
I'm glad I did this one. I don't do all the podcasts, but you've been a big joy to work with.
You got to do Mindset Marys.
Mindset Marys. That's good. Really good. You were great. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. Take care.